I think I am live. I think I am live. Let me go ahead and get this going. Okay, bear with me. Listen, y'all, I am a one woman show. I am a one woman show. Okay, I have to just make sure that I'm streaming on all the platforms and that you can hear me to make sure I'm just not talking into myself. All right, while I get this thing going, let me make sure I got everything going. Okay, before we get started. And when you come on in here, tell me where you're coming in from. Uh-oh, I think I got something in my teeth. I can feel it. Okay, I was eating chia seeds. I was eating chia seeds with my um with my yogurt. Okay, so I think that's what was going on. I was eating chia seeds with yogurt. So when you come into the room, just say hello. You come into the room, let me know you in here. And it's going to be a minute before I get started because I have to give people time to come into the room. And if you guys don't know where you are at, you are beyond the interview. All right. We are talking about my interview on Soft White Underbelly and what it has done. Um, what does it mean for me moving forward and all other things? Okay. I am going to be answering a few questions, um, telling you guys about the impact moving forward and what does it mean for me. Okay. And of course I have some status, because you always gotta have status to back things up, okay? Just a little status every now and then to back things up. But as you come into the room, make sure you say hello. Listen, I am Yashika Foster, and I am a self-actualization and life strategist. And I operate this little place on YouTube called Hood Parenting. And so, if this is your first time here, make sure you come in and say hello. Let me know you are in the room. And if you are here for the first time, all right, or you just dropped in or whatever, we are talking about my interview. And we're calling this Beyond the Interview, what my Soft White Underbelly interview taught me about purpose. Okay. And so, again, we are just a couple of minutes in, and so we're going to go ahead and get ready and get started. I just want to make sure that I can hear myself before I start. And so if you hear a little bit music in the background, let's kind of set the little mood out, y'all. Okay, now I'm playing. If you are curious about who this is, just say I'm curious and I'll drop you the name. And while you are here, I am also going in through StreamYard. So if by chance you want to be a part of the conversation or ask questions or anything like that, or if there's something that you want to know, some type of coaching that you want to do and you're not afraid to be live on here with me, then by all means, make sure you go ahead and um, look at the StreamYard and click that, and I'll let you into the room. And so I'm going to repost that StreamYard link as so that you guys can have it in case that's something you are interested in. Okay, I was talking to a few people, and that might be something that they're interested in. And so, by all means, if that's something you're interested in, come on in here and let's have a chit chat. And we can also talk about what it means moving forward in terms of. Let me see. I just deleted my StreamYard. What you call it? That was crazy. So let me see how I can get it back. I literally just deleted it by accident. Let me see how I can get it back. Okay, so we have to go to invite. Let me see if I can get it back without going out of StreamYard. Okay, here we go. I don't know if this is my referral link or whatever, but not this. I don't want to share my referral link. I want to share this live link because I done messed around here and I've messed around here and deleted it when I had it on my what you call it. Maybe I can copy it from here and paste it here. Maybe that'll work. Let's see if that'll work. Then that way someone can come in and chit chat. So we're gonna go ahead and get started right now. We're gonna go get started. And so first, I want to take a second and Listen, when I tell you that I am grateful, beyond grateful that people like reached out to me, people, wanted to hear what I had to say, right? And I wanted to make sure I could be heard. I was just grateful that people wanted to, reach out to me, and the fact that my video got over 1,000 views right around the time it hit the 7 day mark on the platform, which says a lot about the impact of the video, right? Because statistically speaking, when it comes to people who are on that platform who are not famous or haven't had any prior interviews or anything like that, that video that they usually take them a minute before they hit 100,000 views. Normally, it takes them about 2 to 3 weeks or about a month or so to hit 100,000 views. Where my video did it in 7 days. And so when I say I am beyond grateful, I am beyond thankful. I am like literally like I'm very humbled by it because I didn't know. Let's start there. Um, yeah, let's start there. I didn't know that my story was had touched so many people and had such impact, and so many people saw themselves in me while they were watching that interview, right? The things that a lot of us go through, the things that we don't know what we don't know, right? The things that we're trying to make sense of it all because it's like, well, this is life, and how do I make sense of life? Especially when you are a young person, especially when you don't have a lot of examples, you don't have a lot of like motivation, you don't have a lot of pouring into, you don't have a lot of structure. Everybody have their different things, right? And so I can understand how someone that doesn't have that in their life can relate to that, because one thing I can always say about me is that my stories are my stories and my truth is my truth. And all I know is I have to be my own motivator. Like I don't even know how to live a life where I'm not rooting for myself. You know what I mean? And now, could it be my ego too? Oh yeah, it could possibly be my ego, right? Because I just remember there were times in my life, and I say this and I mean this with everything. And when I say this, I'm not saying it to be like arrogant or anything. Although I understand that in order to get a certain place in life, you do have to have a certain level of arrogance, right? But I just remember being a kid, and I just remember being a kid, and I used to just think like I'm so amazing. Like I don't know why people don't see that I'm amazing. You know what I mean? That's how I used to think about myself. Like literally, like now, granted, we're taught to be humble. We're taught not to be boisterous, not to be, arrogant, not to be, not to have a ego or anything like that. We're taught all those things, right? We're definitely taught those things, right? But for me, I know that as a kid, I definitely looked at myself and thought that, you know what, Yashika, you are amazing. And, and like I said, that was just how saw myself. Now, I didn't go around telling people that. I didn't go around telling people, well, I'm amazing. I didn't do that. I just thought that way of myself. But at the same time, I was probably my biggest critic as well. Because even though I was the one that motivated myself, I also was the one that judged myself the hardest. I was the first one to say, "Oh my God, girl, why did you do that? You looked so goofy doing that. Like you looked like." I would talk about myself, and then I would just shrug it off. I'd be like, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna do it again, but I'm just gonna try to do it differently. I'm not gonna look as goofy doing it." Right. And that's just how I used to look at life. I didn't never see anything as an obstacle. I only saw things as, well, this ain't for me. If something didn't turn out right and it was what I wanted or I needed, or it was part of the plan and it didn't turn out, I would just say, well, okay, let me go try something else. Maybe this ain't for me. But I never looked at anything as failure. I never looked at anything as, now was there times where I was hard on myself? I was probably too hard on myself. Absolutely. 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 Like I remember being in school as a young girl, and I don't even know if they still give out A minuses, but I got an A minus one time in school. And I came home crying about it. Okay. My mama was like, yeah, you still got straight A's. And I was like, yeah, but that was an A minus. That A minus was almost a B. And I cried about it. I did. I cried about it. And then after that, I let it go. Meaning that after that, I didn't even care no more. It was like, whatever, because I was like, he didn't see my brilliance. He didn't see that I was smart. I shouldn't have got an A minus. So that's how I saw myself. So was there times where I was probably harder on myself than I should have been? Yes. But what I didn't recognize until people really, really tell it to me about how the things that I do talk about, it allows them to see things from a different perspective. It allows them to see things from a way that they wouldn't have never saw things. And it also allows them to see that, you know what, life is life, get up and do it again. And so when I first realized that the video had aired, it was because I had gotten a text message while I was, or DM, I'm sorry, while I was in the grocery store that Friday. And I was just in tears because of the message that was given to me by someone. And as a matter of fact, I think I think that one will probably be the one that I probably will say out loud or talk about. Um, because it was like she DM'd me and she was like, listen, I just saw your video on, your interview, and she was like, you are amazing. And she was like, I mean, the things that she said to me was just, it was, and I was just like, oh my God. And so right away I went to the video and I noticed that it had been out at that point for about maybe 4 hours or so, and it was doing really well. And so I stood in the store and I was just in awe. And so moving forward, I just been looking at it because I wanted to know, I wanted to understand what was it, and it was just relatable. And then it was so many women, and it was so many women, and I'm so thankful. I mean, when I tell you grateful and thankful, like I have received emails, right? Because I have my email address for my personal email, not my business email, but my little email on my website or on this Hood Parenting. So I've received emails, I've received DMs, I've received text messages, I received text messages from people that I haven't talked to or spoken to in years. People that I just know of. People, I even had someone tell me that I follow, and they saw the interview, and it wasn't until I posted that they recognized that it was me, because I guess it was the post came across their timeline because I followed them. And they was like, oh my God, I did not know this was you. I watched this interview, and she said, I'm so glad to see you. Like, in other words, girl, okay, I see you. Like, because she didn't recognize that I follow her. And I don't know if she followed me back, but she, how you follow someone for what they offer, but that doesn't necessarily mean they follow you back. And so for her, she's followed, she was like, okay, I see you. So, excuse me. So for me, excuse me. So for me, it was one of those things where I was really grateful. But the interview itself has streamed, and like I said, it's over. It has done um differently, or it has done better than 90% of the videos in the same time frame of especially with me, because I'm not anyone famous. And so that that's why I got to give myself a pat on the back, because listen, hype me up. I hype me up. That's it. I hype me up. And that's just how it is. I hype me up. Like I said in the beginning, I've always been a one-to-one, because I was like, okay, and yes, I did my part too, because I'm pushing it out, because the more and more I push it out, the more and more it helps me in what I do, because I recognize now that I'm able to start transitioning more from in person to online in terms of my business and what I do in the area of self-actualization and being a life strategist. And so, give me 1 second. Excuse me. So, I am not going to go through the interview and talk about any of some of the things that was said, because there was only like I would say only a couple of interviews. I mean, a couple of things that was said on the interview that I wanted to address. And one of the things that I wanted to address that someone said, and I just want to, and I said I'm going to do a whole live about it. But they were saying about, my timeline in terms of it was two things that were said about timelines, and I wanted to address those things because I wanted for it to be clarity. My throat is itchy. The windows are open. Okay, so in terms of clarity, they said, how can her great grandmother or how can her grandmother have been a slave? And I didn't know that when I say things like that, that I have to literally sit there and say great, 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 great grandmother, because that was 7 generations ago, between 6 and 7 generations ago, of her being my grandmother, where my grandfather owned my grandmother. We know that we weren't talking about my mother's mother or my father's mother. Okay, they were born in the 1900s, and I want to believe that our people was free by then. Okay, I don't care what was going on. I still want to believe we were free. Okay, so with that being said, it was 7 generations ago. And then another thing someone asked about, that they asked about timeline, was how could she have served 25 years in the military, active duty, plus achieved these 3 degrees and these things? And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna do a whole live about that, because I remember talking to soldiers about that as a commissioned officer and a non-commissioned officer, right? Meaning that I did all the things. When I say I did all the things, I made sure I went to school online, in classroom. Listen, I did whatever I needed to do to get my degrees and get my certifications. I didn't sleep. And I'm not saying it was easy, but what I am going to do is do a live on it. And one thing about stuff, because why? Because I think this is important information, because anything that you go into, no matter what it is, you supposed to get what you can get from the situation. Because trust me, a place like the military, they're going to get what they want from you. So I made sure I got what I can get from them, which was my education and my certifications, because I knew they were going to break me. I knew they were going to take it. I would be lucky to walk away with my life, right? And y'all know that's how the military rolls. And so I was even more luckier to walk. I mean, to walk away whole, right? Meaning I got 10 fingers and toes and all that. Like I already knew. So in my mind, I wanted to make sure that I provided myself with every opportunity moving forward, and made sure that my kids had every opportunity moving forward. So whatever it was that they offered my kids that I could possibly do to make sure that their future was straight, I did that as well. I didn't care. You know what I mean? And so that meant that I had to lose sleep. That means that I had to sacrifice some things, some time. It probably was my marriages up in there that was sacrificed. I don't know. But I do know that in order to get to where you need to be in life, there are some sacrifices to be made. And while I was in the military, I'm just really thankful that I was able to see things from a perspective that allowed me. Like I was that student where, I wasn't just going to college at night. I was also doing things in the daytime because of other programs that was available, and all while on active duty. And we're talking Saturdays. I'm up in class. From the time the teacher said good morning, I'd be like, good morning, and I would go to sleep. From the time he said, okay, y'all good for the day, I will wake up and I will go into my house. And then I will go ahead and I will take the test or whatever we was doing. Why? Because I knew I had to be there. If I'm there, I'm going to do the work. I don't care what grade I get. I just need to finish these degrees. And so a lot of times I will only have a Saturday. Sometimes I will only have a Saturday afternoon to go to class, or a Saturday morning, because sometimes we would still work on Saturdays. But I did what I need to do. And and I think a lot of times people don't understand that. Now, I'm not saying that it was a lot of the smartest things I did, but what I do know is that I retired at 43. I do know that. I do know that I retired at 43. And I do know that the education and the things that I have, I can go into any job, and I can go into any career field and work in if I wanted to work for someone. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I paid for what I needed to pay for, meaning that you're going to give up something, whether it's your time or your energy or your patience or your whatever. in order to get to your next level in life, right? We all want to think that we don't give up something for something, but that's not true. That's not true. You give up something for something. You got to decide what you're willing to sacrifice. And so for me, at that time, it was my youth. It was my youth so that my kids and I would be okay as I approached the middle age. And that's exactly what I did. And so the interview, I recognize that the stories that I tell and the things that I'm able to correlate with one another and connect, that does resonate with people because I'm very transparent and I never lie. I never lie. I never lie. If I can't remember, I'll say I don't remember. Or if there was something that maybe there's some dates fluff around, I don't, because sometimes I talk. But for the most part, though, I will tell the same stories the exact way, same way 100 times, and I won't miss a beat because I tell it how it happened from my perspective, and that's all I can do is tell it from my perspective, especially when it's my life. And so that interview, that was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot for me as a Black woman. It was a lot for me as a veteran and a survivor of a lot of things. Right? It was a survivor. I'm a survivor of a lot of things. Right? Those things have allowed me to see the world in a way where I can see things from different perspectives. You know what I mean? And I'm fortunate to know that majority of my life have been beautiful things, have been amazing things, have been things that sometimes it's just amazing. It's so amazing to me and sometimes comical. There'll be things that are happening, and I'm just like, like what the hell? Like, how did I get myself in this? Like for me, and so I just like, you know what, Lord, I guess you're trying to teach me something. And I literally will say that and go on by my business and let it go because I already know whatever I did to get myself here is something that I got to try to figure out. Is some lesson I got to learn. Is something I'm here for. And sometimes I might not even see it at that moment. But I know when I think about it and I'm honest about myself and I review, right? I'm like, girl, the red flag was in the beginning. You saw it in the beginning. You put yourself here. You should have known better. Right. And when I do that, I mean, when you do that, when you could do that with yourself and be honest, you will actually see how things just unfold for you. Because I believe that we go through things until we get it right. I believe that, it's almost like you keep running your head into the wall, bloop, bloop. I think we keep doing things until we get it right. You ever wonder why you keep having the same lesson over again? Because you're trying to he's saying you ain't got it right. You still need to figure some things out. So I understand that interview resonated with a lot of people because they saw how, okay, now I can see how this thing right here happened and it unpacked this thing, or this thing right here made a difference in my life here. And so that's what I recognize a lot of people are able to say, like, you know what, maybe this was for this reason. Maybe I did need to go through this in order for this. And we don't always see it the way we need to, but it does help us to understand our purpose. And that's what this is all about, right? That's what this is all about. So when I think about my interview with Soft White Underbelly, I always think about how it all links back to my purpose, which is I know that my life and the life of those who have came for me was not done in vain. I know that it was for a reason. And so I know that because I want to be what I didn't have in the world. And one of the things that I tell my kids now is that you guys are really, really lucky that you have the internet and you have things like that. Because I mean, we have it too, but they're able to, like, really, the younger generation, because they got time to invest. They got time. Listen, we we don't really want to learn nothing too new. We want to do the basics, but anything after that, we be like, we get somebody else to do it, right? Us old people, okay? So the younger generation, they got really time to focus on it. And like I told my son, a lot of things that we did, we had to go through it and actually listen. We had the Dewey Decimal System at the library. Okay, that's something to think about. Do y'all even know what the Dewey Decimal System is? Mm-hmm. That's what we had at the library. Okay, so anything you needed to know, it fell within that, or it was in that encyclopedia. Those editions of the encyclopedia. If you couldn't get it after that, over those things, then you go over to the microfish. You stick that microfish in there and you slide it. You look down in there and you slide it. Y'all see where I'm going with this? So in other words, there's more things that you guys can offer or you have that you can research. But what I also recognize is that you don't know. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Like we don't know what to research, right? We don't know what to. Let me tell you something. I think about things that I learned when I came in the army. Excuse me. And this is crazy, but I was not raised where we were taught to pray before we eat our food. I do it now before everything I eat. But when I was a kid, we wasn't raised that way. Did I go to church? Did we do things that did we bless our food at Thanksgiving? Yes. We did all that. Christmas, yes. Everybody around the table, yes. If we doing something like that. But if you just sitting down and you eating your food by yourself, I was taught as a kid to bless my food. So when I joined the military, here I was 18. Now I wasn't from like I was from the city. I was from Detroit. I'm from the hood. So our life is just survival skills. Like we don't know nothing else but survive. Get through the next day, survive. And so I remember the girls in basic training, they were from southern states, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana. And I never forget a girl from Pensacola. I was like, Pensacola? Pepsi-Cola? Pepsi-Cola? You from Pepsi-Cola? I was like, I didn't know that was a pep. She was like, girl, Pensacola. I was like, oh, okay. So that's how. So for me, I wasn't like, we did geographical stuff in school, and I went to an amazing school, but we wasn't checking for Florida. I was checking for Johannesburg. That's what I did my research paper on. Okay, so anyway, so time come. I say this because when it comes to kids, and I think about, I don't even know what I was going with that story, but when I think about the things that they're able to do, but anyway, I was thinking about the kids, what they taught me. They taught me to pray when I was in the military. Pray for your food before you eat. And I didn't know that that was something that you supposed to do. I didn't know that was something that you supposed to do. So once they told me that, they said, you're supposed to pray before you eat your food. And I was like, why? I asked why. I said, okay, I understand, but I just want to know why. Like, why do people do that? Like, why? I mean, because I'm gonna do it. Because I mean, I ain't know I'm supposed to. So I'm gonna do it. But why do people do it? And so they started telling me stuff. Well, you got to thank God for the person that made it. You got, and as they said, you not only that, you got to thank God if you don't choke while you eat, while you eating. Like, this is what these 18, 19-year-old girls was telling me in basic training. And so I was like, all right, work for me. Works for me. Whatever. Because my thing is, you don't know what you don't know. And at that moment, I didn't know that I supposed to pray for my food before I ate it. But that's been many a years ago. And you could best believe I still take that with me and I still pray over my food. And I made sure that when I had children, they did it. Now, if they don't do it as adults, I don't know. But as kids and going into adulthood up until they leave my house, you don't eat anything if you don't bless your food first. And so so when it comes to the internet and things like that, I tell my kids, you guys have things that we didn't have. So now I understand that there are things that you have, but you don't know what you look for. So you need that person in your life to tell you or to talk to you or to share these stories or to do these things so you'll have an understanding. And so that's how I understand that my story resonates with so many people because we don't know what we don't know. We didn't know that we needed to do these things in order to do these things. We don't understand that life is not Hollywood. And if it's not Hollywood, then you're not living it right. Right. And it's like, do you know what Hollywood is? And I tell people this. And I don't even know if I said this on the interview. I can't remember. But what I do know is I tell people, listen, when it comes to a Hollywood movie, a box office hit, think about something that got Will Smith in there or Denzel Washington or whoever. Okay. It takes hundreds of people, if not 1,000 people or more, to make a box office movie. So not only that, but before the movie is being made, think about what it takes to get there. It starts with an idea. Somebody said, well, what about this? So then you start adding pieces to it. And then people start saying, well, what about this idea? And this is literally a round table of people coming up with ideas and concepts. Once the concept is made, they're adding to it. So now they got to talk about this character. So then everybody sits around the table and they pick up a character. They're like, okay, well, let's introduce this character now that this character's here. So what I'm saying is that, and it grows and it grows and it grows. And then by the time it gets on the big screen, think about all the people that it takes to make sure that the actors and the actresses are okay, and the producers. You're talking about the people that got to feed them, they got to do their hair and makeup, the people so they can film all this. This is even after it's been talked about and we decide we're gonna go with this. So now we got to film it. Now we got to have all. So what I'm saying, y'all see where I'm going with this? It takes a lot of different brains, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different ideas from different people from different walks of life in order to make a box office movie. Even if the movie got a low budget, it still take a lot of people to make a movie. So how do we expect our lives to go like that? How can we possibly expect our lives to compare to a box office movie? How? We think we're supposed to have this picket white fence and these 2.5 kids and this dog and this happily ever after. Listen, we want that. We do. We do. But in today's world, you can't have all that and not do your part. You can't, because you mess around here and get left behind. So how do you do it all and still balance it? Is it possible? Is there a way? How do you do it all and still keep yourself together? Is there a way? There is. Is your way. And that's it. And that's what people need to understand. The way I live my life, the way everybody else live their life, it's not going to work for everybody else. But what you can have is information. What you can have is understanding. What you can have is tools. What you can have resources. What you can have is, you know what? Well, I got that. So you know what? They got through it. So that's who I'm supposed to be. That's who I am in this world. You know what I mean? That's what that interview taught me more than anything. That's who I've always been. And that's who I'll always be as I continue to walk this particular part of my life. Right? I mean, it's a lot. So I read the comments. I read a lot of them. You know what I mean? There, like I said, I can only say that there was only, a couple that was, people said things and people even said something, but for the most part, it wasn't even worth it. It's not even really it ain't even worth talking about when it comes to the negativity of what was said because of the extreme amount of give that any type of airtime. What I do know is that the comments were a lot in terms of it just really allowed me myself through the eyes of people that didn't know me, right? Because see, everybody that know me or people that know me, it's like a hit and miss. You know what I mean? Like for some people, I remember thinking I'm too much for them, or I got to back it down a little bit because I don't want to be too much, right? We do that. We have friends sometimes, that we have partners that we have, whether, intimate partners, like if I'm in a relationship with a guy, or if I have one of my friend girls or whatever, that we, we cool, we business partners, or we besties, or we're military besties. So when it comes to those type of things and people come in and out of your life, you do question a lot of things. You do question, because I see everybody at their best, right? I do. I see everybody at their best because it's like, because we all got our shit. We all got our shit. So, unless you've done something to me personally, like, that's real hurtful, right? Real hurtful. And I can't even think of anything that anybody's ever done to me that's that hurtful that I couldn't come back from it. Even in my marriages and the things that I went through with them, like, there's nothing that I can't, like, there's some things in the world that, hey, but for the most part, there's not too many things. I'm talking about where I've been in a relationship with somebody, some type of relationship with them where they've done something to me that we can't come back from. So in other words, it should always be one of those things where, I'm able to, like, grow and learn and when I hear these things and I'm just like, okay, when it comes to people and it's like a whole thing, it's like When I listen to people talk, and so when I see myself, and I say this because, like I said, I'm seeing myself through people that don't know me. The people that know me, they're like, okay, we know this about her. Like I said, it's give or take. It's a hit and miss, because people want to give you, well, you know what, you're this, and you be like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm that. I'm just knowing that I'm just being me. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to say and what I don't know supposed to say. Like, I don't know. Like, all I know is that I would want somebody to tell me if I'm screwing up. If I'm screwing up and I know better and I'm doing the same stuff, running my head in that wall, like I said a minute ago, I want somebody to tell me. And for me, I don't understand when people don't want anybody to tell them. I don't understand that. And maybe it's my neural brain. Maybe it is, but I don't understand that. And so because of that, I recognize that I'm not for everybody, but I do recognize that people see themselves in me. And so my stories matter because I know they help other people. They really do. They help other people. Even when people not really ready to hear the truth, like the people that, when they don't want to hear it, sometimes that's what it is. People don't want to hear it. Because in other words, I'm saying, I get it. I get it. We all got stuff. But I'm going to need you to get up, friend. I'm going to need you to get up. We can't still be crying about a man that you dated 4 years ago and the relationship was less than that and you still crying about him. I can't stay stuck with you, friend. And I don't know how to be different. Right. And so I recognize that. But what I do recognize is that sometimes there are people in the world that need them people like myself to be honest with them. That's what I recognize. There are people that need someone to be honest with them. There are people in the world that listen. Don't be telling me what I want to hear. I need you to tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know for real. Don't be telling me what I want to hear. And that's how I live my life. Because if I can stand in the mirror, like I said before, and tell myself when I'm doing something goofy, but also tell myself, girl, you hype me up like I hype myself up. Like I'm my biggest critic and I'm my biggest cheerleader because I have to be accountable for me. But at the same time, I recognize that other people see me too. And if I'm doing something that does not align with who they know me to be, then I expect them to say something to me. And if I'm your friend and I can't say nothing to you, then we can't be friends because I don't want to walk on glass around my friends. And I don't want my friends to walk on it around me. Right. And so I recognize that there are people in the world that do need that type of understanding, that do need that. And it's not harsh to the point where it's unkind. But I need you to know that, hey, friend, we're not about to do this no more. It's been too long, friend. It's time to get up. hmm I don't know who I'm talking to out there, but I keep saying the same thing. All right. I tell you, this is a beautiful journey. So the Q&A. There was not a lot of questions that was being asked of me, but the biggest thing that was being said that I hope that Mark will see is they kept asking him to bring me back, right? And they was like, bring her back. But here's the thing. I hope that Mark brings me back because trust me, it's all strategic. And so, Mark, if you are listening, honey, bring me back because I got stories. I told you I got stories. But at the same time, I'm going to get these stories out one way or the other because I know they help people, right? So if you are here for the first time and you found me from the Soft White Underbelly interview, hello and welcome. And welcome to this ride. Because now that we're here, we ain't turning around no more. So I got a lot of shit to talk about, right? So that's what's up for me next. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. And I'll talk about it right here on this here YouTube. Okay? Why? Because it helps people. Because I know what I talk to people about in the world. I know the conversations that people have with me. I know the things that people are going through. Honey, the ancestors tell me about it. So why not we have a conversation? So I'll sit here and I'll tell my stories because I know that people need to hear them. People need to see people be okay in the world. Nothing's perfect. I would never ever things perfect. I don't even think there's a definition of perfect. You know what I mean? I don't even know the definition of what perfect looks like. Because even if I had the perfect this or I had the perfect that or I had this, I'm going to still find something else to complain about. So there's nothing perfect. But what I am saying is that life is good and we have to put one foot in front of the other. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save you. And I'm gonna say this before I go, because I mean this. And I don't know if my friend is still here on this live, Mr. Relationship Man. But I remember one day I had watched this movie called From Scratch. And I shared this with him because I believe that we were in COVID at the time. And I waited to watch the movie because one thing about the movies when we're in COVID, anything came out, people couldn't wait to come online and talk about it. Okay, because everybody wanted to do it was like a book club. The movie that then came out, so now we all gonna talk about it on Facebook. I mean on Facebook and all that. So the movie From Scratch came out. Beautiful movie, beautiful sentiment. I can't remember. It was a series, I think. I don't think it was a movie. I think it was a series. Like it was a mini series, had episodes, I believe, and I could be wrong. Somebody correct me down below. But it's been a couple of years, and y'all know I'm 52. Well, anyway, I decided to start watching the movie one Saturday. Okay, I don't even know how I started, but I ended up stopping. I started like that afternoon. It wasn't too early in the morning. It was like that afternoon. Now I was putting off doing things in the house. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna spend a Saturday and watch this movie. Tomorrow or Monday. Why? Because we didn't really still get out like that. I think it was like 2021 or something, or we were at the end of 2020. I don't remember. But anyway, I watched that movie. And when I got done watching that movie, I cried. I was emotional all while I was in it. And if you didn't watch it, you go watch it. You know what I'm talking about. I believe it's on Netflix. And once I got myself together after watching that movie, I dusted myself off all in that day. And I got up and I went and came upstairs here. And I have this attic that's like a walk-in. It looks like a closet. It's just walk-in. You could probably put a bedroom up in there. Okay. I keep all my extra household stuff in there because I like to decorate. Okay. It's one of my pastimes. Okay. So I had all my extra stuff up in there that I was like, you know what? I'm about to go up in here and clean up my attic. And that's what I did. When I saw that movie, I went up and stairs that evening because by that time it was like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. Too late for me to be going my tail in the attic to start cleaning it out. And it was hot as shit in there. The attic ain't got no air conditioning, ain't got nothing. They got that foam stuff in there. It's hot as shit, okay? So all I know is, and my friend, Mr. Relationship Man, asked me, well, what did you make me do? What made you do that? Why was that your reaction? I said, because I realized wasn't nobody coming to clean that attic out for me. That's what I recognize. I got to save myself. Anybody coming? So if I don't get this attic done now, it's gonna be there for me tomorrow to get done, or it's gonna be there for me the next day. But either way, it's gonna be there for my ass, unless I pay somebody to come in here and do it, because ain't nobody coming in here to do it for me. So why not do it right now? And that's what I did. And once I did it, I was like, well, that's done. Let me move on to the next. And that's how I looked at. That's how I look at life. Like as beautiful as listen, I wish I could be a dancer in distress. Okay. But I also know that shit happens. And because I give myself that life. I'm a dancer in distress for me. Right? Like I give myself that life. I give myself that life to be whatever I want to be. Is all I'm saying. I don't wait on anybody to give it to me. Now, is it beautiful when they add to it? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100. Always, always, always. And if I don't, I go and figure out how to get there. And if that means me taking a step back, going to doing on a vacation, going to get me a whole case of wine, if that means me going out there and just, I don't know, spending some money shopping, doing whatever I need to do to get myself okay. And what I mean by okay is where I can put another step in front of the other because I already know tomorrow it might be something else. But eventually, this too will pass. If I can look up and breathe, I can get up. And I remember a chaplain said that, Chaplain Keys, when I was in the Army. He said, if you can look up, you can get up. And I always remember that. If you can look up, you can get up. So when I look at life that way, listen, when you look at life that way, I don't think there is no turning back on how you see life. I think once you look at life that way, it's like then you recognize that nothing is impossible. Nothing. And when I tell you that I manifest everything in my life one way or the other, and I know that is such a word that we always use, but I will say this: there was a girl, and that reminded me, and I knew that I said it, but in 2022, I think it was, she put in one of the comments. I remember you said this, Yashika. She said, I remember that we were sitting in a hot tub in Greece. This is what she said. We were sitting in a hot tub in Greece, and you said that you're gonna try to figure out a way so that you can speak in front of a whole bunch of people or get your word. She said you said that she was trying to get yourself in front of a lot of people, like you was gonna figure out a way. And she said, and you did it. And I said, you remember that? And she said, absolutely, because that's what I would say. Like, listen, I just gotta talk in front of them. Once I get myself in front of a lot of people and everybody hear my voice, I already know it's gonna be on after that. Once I talk, it's gonna be over after that. It's no stopping me. Once I get my voice or once I get myself in front of a lot of people, it's over after that. You will not be able to stop me. Why? Because I recognize that I have some stuff that people need to hear. Because when I tell you, I listen, and I'm it's not anything that anybody can't do. It's just that I know that I didn't see it. I didn't see it. That's all I know. I didn't see it. And if I didn't see it, I know there's a lot of other people that didn't see it either when it came to certain things, because I still see people in situations, even where I come from. So it's a lot of we didn't see it. They didn't see it. So if they didn't see it, they didn't believe that it was possible. They thought that continuing on, like someone even asked me, is there like do we like how do I break a generational curse? And I asked them, why do you believe you're in a generational curse? And then they told me why they believed it. I said, now if you understand that you are, now change it. Now change it. If you recognize it, now change it. So whatever you're doing, do something different. That's all. That's it. I don't know what it looks like, but whatever you're doing, then change it. If you recognize that there's something there that keeps happening generation after generation, then change it. That's all I can say. Because why? That is just the way it is. I don't know how you change it, but change it. Maybe you start by talking about it. Let's start there. Start by talking about it. Let's stop sticking stuff up on the rug or sweeping stuff up on the rug or whatever. Let's start there. That's one way we could change some things. Let's start there. Because trust me when I tell you, there's still a lot of that going on. Okay? So start there. So moving forward, if you have not subscribed to Hood Parenting, make sure you do so. If you have not followed me on social media, either up under Yashika Foster or Hood Parenting, I would love for you to do so. Do your girl a favor and follow me, like, share, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. But also, somewhere in this post and or up in my bio, you can check out my stand store. Over there, you can take a self-actualization quiz as well as some other things coming. But you can also do a consultation or book appointment with me. If you just, I have 3 different plans that you can choose from. But either way it go, make sure you follow me. So if you're not ready to work with me yet, then you'll be ready. Make sure you follow me to get the information I'm putting out, because everything I put out, no matter what, you will get something from it. Trust me when I tell you that. So my Soft White Underbelly interview has been, listen, I can't wait to see where this goes. Right. I know that I haven't even, because I know how I see myself. Right. I've always seen myself just standing in front of people. Like, I don't know why, but I've always just seen myself standing on the stage in front of people, and all I see is the lights and the people. And it's the craziest thing. I've seen that myself like that forever and a day. Right. And I don't know what that looks like ever. I don't even know anything. But what I do know is that this is something that I'm supposed to do. And it's all part of the plan. And I know it's all part of the plan, because they wouldn't have made, like, they wouldn't have, like, when I tell you that, like they tell me everything, like I hear everything. Like I'm like, listen, they made me strong for a reason. They made me these things for a reason. Right? They made me like this for a reason. You know, when I look at who I am and my family be like, you know what, you look like this person, you act like that person, you dress like that person. Like, I can hear them telling me how I'm this person, that person, that person. So I'm all these people, right? Because the older that my people get, they can see, I'm starting to turn into that older woman now. So they're starting to see things in me. right? And so I know that those things are coming. So I know that these things are passed down to me because there's things I'm supposed to do with them. Like, because I know these people were amazing. Those people were amazing. I know they were. And so that's why I know that I'm supposed to share those things. I remember the sacrifices. I remember the struggles. I remember all that, right? I remember all that. Okay. And so anyway, if this is something that you ready to go for on a ride, then you make sure you follow me. And the Soft White Underbelly interview, it's been amazing. And yeah, and I can't wait to come back and talk about my 250th episode. We'll do that probably within a month. I say about 3 weeks. It should be 250 within 3 to 4 weeks. And then we'll be on to 1 million. I can't wait to do that one. And so if you stuck this out with me, I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.